This is the Louie Tee Network.
Could it be? Me, your me, Louie Tee. Well, the 2017 NFL Draft Prospects 101 series, your guide to some of the biggest and hottest names of the 2017 NFL Draft. I, of course, am your man, Louie Tee, along on this journey as we get through as many prospects leading up to the 2017 NFL Draft, and we're at the running back position right now. Already talked Leonard Fournette and how he can potentially be a game changer for some NFL franchise. Well, here's another guy at the running back position that I think is going to be a first-round pick that can do the exact same thing for your franchise, but in a totally different way, totally different body type. Talking about Florida State University's Dalvin Cook. Some people have some questions about his performance on and off the field. One thing's for certain though, this guy is definitely a dynamic football player. Let's jump into Dalvin Cook's pros. So you talk Dalvin Cook and his pros, and the first thing I gotta start with, physicality. And you don't think of Dalvin Cook and physicality in the same sentence, but you should. This is a guy that at the combine was one of the best on the bench, 22 reps. And you see it play out on the football field. Time and time again, we hear about these guys that are tossing up weight on the bench, but when they get to the field, it doesn't translate. They lift like Tarzan, but play like Jane. This is not the case. We're talking about a guy that's 5'10", 210, but he's putting up 225 22 times. And on the football field, you see it. This is a guy that doesn't shy away from contact, can make you miss, but if he needs to, can lower the shoulder and bounce off of defenders. He can get the extra yards. There's forward lean. There's a play against Clemson in 2016 where he meets Ben Bulware, okay? 3rd and about 5. They meet after he catches the football right at the sticks. And his drive and forward lean and that strength that I just talked about, that physicality that I just talked about, won out as he picked up the first down as those two met at the sticks. That's Dalvin Cook and his physicality in a nutshell. This is a guy that isn't afraid to mix it up, even at his diminutive stature at 5'10", 210. Don't let that fool you. This is a physical running back here in Dalvin Cook. Speaking of physical and balance, the next pro is contact balance. He's not a guy that just has balance because he is so nifty on his feet. His agility is out of this world. He can make guys miss in tight quarters and spaces. But not only does that balance make him a hard target to hit out in space, but it's contact balance that makes him exceptional. When he does endure some contact, low center of gravity, able to bounce off of that contact, withstand that contact, stay on his feet, and continue to pick up yards after contact, which leads me to my next pro, Yaxter. This is a guy, after initial contact, he's still on his feet churning for more yards. There are ample examples of Dalvin Cook getting hit, lowering his shoulder, and continuing to get yards after contact, after bouncing off of contact, direct contact at that. So this is a guy, great contact balance, gets hit, but stays on his feet and gets more yards after the fact. Jump cut. Okay, this is a guy that has a devastating jump cut, a la Shady McCoy, and that's high praises. I don't give that out very often because Shady McCoy to me has the most devastating jump cut in all the National Football League. You won't see a more vicious jump cut that will leave defenders in his wake. This is a guy that I think mirrors that of Shady McCoy, a very, very good jump cut that is lethal when used out in space on an out-of-control defender. You don't stand a chance. This guy can stop on a dime, make you miss, cut it back, and then pick up yards after the fact. Doesn't take him long to get back up to top speed either. So this is a guy with a very, very devastating jump cut, and I think that's going to be one of his biggest assets at the next level. Multiple speed runner is the next pro, and I love this about Dalvin Cook because I think Leonard Fournette is a monotone runner. And what I mean by monotone runner, there's not different speeds that he has. He's not a guy that's looking to run patiently to set something up. He gets the football and he's trying to take off and he's trying to find that hole. And as he's hitting it as hard as he can, he's going to try to figure it out as he goes. With Dalvin Cook, however, he's got multiple speeds as a running back, and that's what you want. You want a guy that can be patient at the line of scrimmage, and that's the next pro, so I'll go ahead, lump it in now, a patient runner. So you want a guy that has multiple speeds, and what I mean by that is, at the line of scrimmage, you want a guy that can be patient. If there's a blocker out in front of him, maybe there's a pulling guard, and you want him to be able to set that block up. So you want him to be able to take his time, kind of mosey on and allow that block to develop and then hit it faster and go much faster than slow. And then have that burst once that hole opens up. Once that blocker displaces that defensive lineman or linebacker or just that defensive player in general, once he takes him out of the picture, you want to be able to hit that seam and go much faster than slow. Dalvin Cook can do that. He is one of those guys that can make you miss out of space and then turn it back on 0 to 60 real quick. So this is a guy, multiple speeds. If he's got a crease, as soon as he gets the football, he can take off and go. But if it's not there initially, maybe something needs to develop. He can be patient, wait, and then turn it up. And he's a guy that, because he has multiple speeds, I've never seen a guy this effective at tiptoeing the sidelines and not going out of bounds. I think that is the most phenomenal trait that I saw on tape watching him. It's how over and over you're thinking, this guy's going out of bounds. There's no way he's going to be able to stay in bounds. And because he's a multiple speed runner, he takes his time by the sidelines and is able to navigate the sidelines. Against Clemson, a big run in that game, down the sidelines, you're thinking he's going out of bounds, and he somehow stays in bounds, tiptoes his way down the sidelines for about a 40-yard touchdown run. And he does that quite often. There's times where he jump cuts and doesn't go out of bounds and cuts it back inside. There are times where he's able to find a way to get to the outside, get to the edge, beat that defender, which is where that speed comes into play. Multiple speed runner. This guy, 4.49 at the combine, and I think he runs a little faster than that on game day. So it's a guy that can pick him up, put him down, but also be patient enough to allow blocks to develop, and then also have that extra gear where he can downshift and not go out of bounds once turning the corner, because to turn that corner, he has to be at top speed, but then can downshift and allow himself to stay in bounds and not go out of bounds and get the yards that are there to be had. So multiple speed runner, love that about Dalvin Cook. Pass catching ability. Okay, this is a guy that catches the football as well as any back in this draft. I think the only guy that I would put ahead of him in this draft as far as catching the football is concerned is Christian McCaffrey, who is just a natural pass catcher, runs in his blood and his DNA. But Dalvin Cook isn't that far behind, and if you're looking for a guy that can get it done on all three downs, I think Dalvin Cook could be that guy for you because his pass catching ability is so dynamic. He can hurt you in a multitude of ways. Just go look at the bowl game that they were able to win versus Michigan, where he catches the football. They put a linebacker on him, and again, that's the type of matchup you can set up and isolate at the next level with a guy like Dalvin Cook. You can split him out wide, and if they try to match him up with a linebacker like Michigan did, you can run him up the sideline on a straight vertical or on a wheel route, and he'll win 10 times out of 10. He's too dynamic. And the quarterback, Francois, hit him down the sideline, and it was a beautifully executed play. When you get those types of matchups with a back like this, you have an opportunity for a big play, a big explosive play at the next level. 3 down back. I just talked about his ability to catch. I already told you he's a dynamic running back with the ball in his hands. How about as a pass protector? I loved what I saw out of Dalvin Cook. There weren't many times that his guy was the reason a play didn't work. There weren't many times where his guy was getting to the quarterback and making a sack. He's willing, able, and a guy that will stick his face right in the chest of a defender, whether he's got to cut him, whether he's got to just stand in front of him, absorb contact, whatever he's got to do to win on that particular play so that the play wins and the quarterback's got time, he will do it. I feel very confident that on 3rd and 8, all-out blitz, Dalvin Cook will stand a guy up and allow the quarterback enough time to get rid of the football. I will vouch for him as a 3-down back at the next level. There are questions about his size. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But if you're talking about from a pass-catching standpoint, as well as a guy that can block, sign me up for Dalvin Cook every single day of the week. Durability. You talk about a 5'10", 210-pound back that toted the rock at Florida State, not only as a ball toter out of the backfield, but also as a pass catcher. Yet this man only missed 2 games in his Florida State career. Out of 40 possible contests, this man played in 38. And one of those games, he was out due to suspension. So you're talking about a guy that only missed 2 games in his collegiate career. And he dealt with some injuries, but toughed it out and still had the type of career that allowed him to set ACC, not just Florida State, but ACC records, including the first running back to ever eclipse 4,000 rushing yards in his career in the ACC. Dalvin Cook is that guy. Speaking of which, my next pro is his productivity. Here's a guy that in each year as a running back got statistically better as a pass catcher and as a rusher. This is a guy that his numbers went up each and every single year he was at Florida State. So that lets you know, not only is he on the field and available, which is the best ability to have is availability, but he's also a guy that when on the field is giving you maximum production on the football field. So that is something to behold also with Dalvin Cook. And then finally, his final pro for me, played in a pro style offense at Florida State. Jimbo Fisher is a offensive mind at the collegiate level, a guy that runs similar offensive concepts to a lot of the things you'll see on Sunday. So his acclimation and his transition from collegiate running back to NFL pro running back will not be a very big, steep climb. I think he's a guy, much like Fournette, that you put him in any NFL offense and he'll be able to assimilate very quickly because he played in a pro-style offense at Florida State. So with that being said, there are a lot of things to love, not like love about Dalvin Cook, but there are some things that makes you pause if you're a team in the first round looking for a back. Here's his cons. So you look at his cons, and I think the first thing that you think about is he a 3-down back? I think he's a 3-down back. I will vouch for Dalvin Cook as a 3-down back because it always baffles me when teams argue and question whether a guy's a 3-down back, but he did it in college. And I know the game, the speed of the game, physicality does up a notch when you get to the next level. But if a guy's able to withstand 300 carries in college, why can't he do it at the pros? It just baffles me sometimes. But in any event, his size is a question for some teams at 5'10", 210. And when I get to his injury history and we get to the Carfax, there are some questions that have to be answered. Can this guy stay healthy? Speaking of which, let's just go right ahead to that and kind of talk about these two things because I think they kind of interweave and interlock with one another. And that's his injury history. And can you trust a 5'10", 210-pound back to withstand the punishment that's going to come his way throughout the course of a 16-game NFL season? And if you make the playoffs, more than that. That's the question that I think a lot of people have with his size. Not that his size is a hindrance, but can he just stay healthy? This is a guy that dealt with a hamstring injury in 2015. He still went out and balled. Anyway, you look at his stats, you won't even be able to tell that he had a hamstring, but it was a nagging hamstring injury nonetheless. But the thing that probably worries teams the most, he's had 3 shoulder surgeries since high school, 3. And so that's something that makes you kind of cringe if you're an NFL scout, GM, or evaluator, and you're looking at a guy and you're thinking about bringing him on board. You're a running back, you need your shoulder how many surgeries you had? You said 3? Whew, that's a lot. And you haven't even gotten to the pros yet. That's a little bit of a cause for concern for some teams. We'll see if he checks out medically as we continue down this process. Ball security. I'm a guy that you got to hold on to the rock. There are a number of coaches in this league. They don't want guys that can't. I don't care how talented you are. You fumble the ball, you're going to be on the sideline next to me. That's the mentality of a lot of coaches. 13 fumbles, 9 of them lost. So not only is he fumbling the football, but they're not getting a lot of these back in 38 games. That's a ton of fumbles. You're talking about a guy that's putting the football on the carpet. You're talking about 3 times a season almost, and that's a little uncomfortable. And you're talking about 3 different years. So you're talking about a guy, 13 fumbles in 3 seasons. You're talking about a guy that's fumbling on average 4 times a year. And you're getting back, and you're losing 3 of them. Okay, that's a very high number. That's a scary number. You need better ball security from a guy that's touching it as often as Dalvin Cook. Catching it out of the backfield, running it. I'm going to need him to secure that rock. If you can't, you won't be on the field very often, young fella. I don't care how talented you are. And then finally, another elephant in the room when talking Dalvin Cook, which may be the deciding factor as to how high he goes in this draft, because he's a first-round pick all day, every day in any draft. But the question is, off the field issues. Had an incident in 09, had an incident in 10, and then an incident in 2015. Now, the 09 and the 10 incidents, you kind of just chalk that up to young exuberance and a guy that's just young and doesn't understand the magnitude of some of his actions. When you're that young, when you're in high school, you do dumb things. I'm not absolving him of wrongdoing, but you can understand rough neighborhood, rough environment. You get into some things you're not supposed to. It happens. But the 2015 thing, you're in college. You should be maturing and developing. You got to know better. Misdemeanor assault there. All charges were dropped. The fact of the matter is, don't put yourself in these types of compromising positions where the organization and your agent have to vouch for you and have to find a way to get you out of trouble. That's something that also has some teams a little nervous about Dalvin Cook. But again, I don't know him. I can't vouch for his character or how this guy is going to interact once he is paid off the field. Is he going to try to go back to the hood and bring all his homeboys with him? And are they going to drag him down? I can't speak to any of that stuff. All I can tell you is, as a football player, this guy's legit. And a team that gets him, if he's healthy, this is a guy that could be the best running back in this entire draft class. He's that good. He's that talented. Dalvin Cook, one of the best at his position in this draft. That's his draft prospects 101 breakdown. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here on the Louie Tee Network. Come back, because I got plenty more prospects to break down. Guess what? I'm going to see you next time. You want me to break his tape down in front of you? 1,000 views, 100 likes. I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Whether you're looking for more great content or more of me, your man, Louie Tee, follow, like, and subscribe to the following social media platforms of mine.